Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so King Groot buff details are out, and I must say from the first reading I'm actually really optimistic, because keep in mind King Groot was already fairly solid champion. Now he had a clear damage issue, but ability to shrug off debuffs, immunity to bleed, access to fury buffs, access to permanent armor break debuffs, access to poison, tons of regeneration, and pretty much infinite sustainability made him already a choice of some, well, let's call them more patient players than myself. But seemingly, this tune-up pretty much does exactly what, well, this moderate buff pretty much does exactly what it had to. It gives him some damage. Now, we're not gonna read every single line of the Groot abilities, King Groot abilities, because I believe you guys know them already. For most part, there is one new mechanic, which is Malice. Malice effectively will be used to represent his fury state, and that is just it. It is basically going to function like an aptitude buff of sorts, and whenever you enter the fight, you start with Malice, and then when your furies expire or are used up, then Malice goes on cooldown, then comes back. So effectively, it's just kind of like a representation of King Groot's cycle, if you will. Right, so additionally, he has power drain and power burn effect immunity, which is kind of interesting. That could also make him potentially usable for some plagued mind nodes and things like that. So it's nothing absolutely game breaking, but it's a nice, neat addition there. And here we can go for his personal fury buffs. Unless otherwise stated, King Groot's fury buffs each provide 501 attack rating and last 13 seconds. Now we're going to compare it to how it is currently, and that is 483 last 12 seconds. So they slightly increased the duration by 1 second and gave it another like 5% increase or something like that. So tiny buff there, which initially seemed underwhelming, but it's going to look a lot better once we go over it. Whenever King Groot receives a debuff, he will spend 1 personal fury and then purified. That is what it used to be. Here comes the Malice passive. King Groot starts the fight with a Malice passive, which grants 3 fury buffs. Each time it activates, Malice lasts as long as King Groot has at least 1 personal fury buff remaining. While Malice is active, gain up to 100% fury buff potency based on how long the fight has gone on. Max bonus after 100 seconds. When Malice ends, it goes on cooldown for 13 seconds. So this is exactly what I was talking about. It basically represents your attack phase. Mostly how Malice active, that coincides with however long you have your fury buffs active. And once the furies are used up or how expired, then Malice goes on cooldown. But there is, well, first change is that he starts the fight with 3 fury buffs. Previously he did with 2. So that alone is going to give him better damage from the beginning. But the key is that Malice also works as basically an aptitude buff, increasing fury buff potency by up to 100%. So all of those 500 furies turn into 1000 attack increase furies, and that will more than likely let King Groot do completely different type of damage. Now, he will still go on his 13-second cooldown phase, which previously used to exist in pretty much exactly the same sort, except I believe it was 16 seconds. So the cooldown is shorter than it used to be, which is good. So he's going to have higher uptime on his damage phase. His damage phase is going to have more fury buffs, and those fury buffs will gradually be increasingly more potent. So far, so good. So while Malice is on cooldown, any attack from either champion has 20% chance to grant 1 fury charge. When cooldown ends, gain 1 fury buff for each charge activated when you re-enter Malice. Now that is the synergy that he had with Immortal Abomination, I believe. Nearly there, except it's 1/2 of it anyhow. But it's still very good to see it in his base kit, because previously you had to lose 9% health in order to gain more of those charges. And now you don't. Now you don't anymore, basically. So you're going to be able to get more of those fury charges for reactivation of Malice. Also, each time King Groot's attack is evaded, auto-blocked, or misses, gain 2 fury charges. Fair play, but it's still not something you want to have happen to you on purpose. Heavy attacks. Pause all poison and armor break debuffs on the opponent for 3 seconds. So 3 seconds actually not worth doing. 3 seconds is barely longer than it takes to actually drop that heavy attack if you include parry and heavy, so that wouldn't be sustainable. However, Malice spend 1 Fury to instant pause it for 6 seconds. Now that makes it a lot more interesting because that poison debuff from level 2 is going to be quite potent in right circumstances, and pausing it for additional 6 seconds and then pausing it again could let you do very substantial amount of damage. But all in all, I don't think this, well, this will be useful, but it's not absolutely game-breaking, I think. Maybe it is, we'll see. Special attack 1. Inflicts up to 3 armor breaks now instead of 1. So that's a huge change, each having a 100% chance to activate, so every hit will inflict a single armor break, removing armor buff and reducing armor rating by 286 for 15 seconds, max tax 10. So previously, first of all, he inflicted 1 armor break instead of 3, so it took significantly longer to stack up, and the duration was 8 seconds, now it is 15 seconds, so the duration of armor breaks nearly doubled. However, if Malice is active, spend 1 Fury buff to make armor breaks indefinite. That is pretty much as it is right now. Except, yeah, that's pretty much as it is right now, except it's going to be 3 armor breaks. So, that looks good. That looks quite promising. I don't think he's going to be like super mega damage character from the get-go, but I do think that all of it could accumulate for quite significant amount of damage. Let's move on to Special 2. Each hit in King Groot's Caustic Breath deals 1,169 direct damage, so that is a nice addition. So you're going to be dealing extra amount of damage, and I presume this will stack with your Fury buffs. So if you have more Fury buffs, you're going to be dealing more direct damage. However, this damage is tripled against robot champions, because obviously robots are immune against poison debuffs. So you're not going to be placing poison, but you're going to be doing a whole lot of direct damage, which is quite awesome additional bit of utility what he has right now. And then moving on, 100% chance to inflict a poison debuff, reducing healing effects by 30% and dealing 3,340 direct damage over 10 seconds. I believe that is about it, how it was. That poison's actually going to be weaker than it was before, directly speaking, per tick. It does exactly the same amount of damage, just over a longer period of time. So as far as the poison ticks are concerned, then it will not tick for as much. Also, previously, if you had Fury, you could consume a Fury buff in order to apply additional poison effect. Now that is changed in order to increase the poison duration by 100%. So you're not going to have 2 poisons active, but you're going to have 1 20-second poison on opponent that you can pause for a significant amount of time. It will be interesting to see how that competes, but I think it still will work out as an increase. Now in Special 3, you basically still gain the regeneration, recovering 10% health over 3 seconds. If the regeneration buff is paused, while King Groot is heal block. That's quite nice. Malice, spend 1 Fury buff to increase the buff duration by 50%, thus recovering 15% of health after level 3. Which is quite nice. And Signature ability. Signature ability, we have a new ability there as well. When Malice is active, gain up to 100% poison duration based on how long the fight has gone on. Max bonus after 100 seconds. So this would extend your poison duration once again for up to 100%. So you would be able to inflict really, really long poison buffs, as poison debuffs with your level 2s. When Malice enters cooldown, gain a regeneration buff, recovering 7572 health over 13 seconds. I think that's about what it does now. Yeah, 7275. So it basically has just additional ability to increase the poison duration. Now, on a personal note, I would have liked to see a poison buff somewhere else placed in there, maybe on a second medium hit or 4th light hit or somewhere in heavy attack or something like that, because that was one of the more annoying things about King Groot, that you had to build up to level 2s, and that is a fairly slow pace. Overall, though, I do think that all the changes here signal fairly substantial damage increase. Now, it is quite hard to say exactly how it is going to all add up. If you think about it, slightly more potent Fury buffs that you will have more of, because you will be gaining a ton more of those Fury charges every time they are on cooldown. The Fury buffs last longer, the cooldown is shorter, you get armor breaks quicker, you can extend your poison duration by 300%, and then you can pause your armor breaks and your poisons as well with heavy attacks. It looks intriguing enough for King Groot to go from being very acquired taste to him being a very reliable champion for some trickier content due to his sustainability, because he still keeps all of his sustainability. He really does. He's going to be healing as much, he's going to be doing everything as well as he did before, just doing more damage, which again is exactly what he needed. And I'm glad that we don't see like overcomplicated additions to his kit and then taking away some things, because with this version of buff, you're just going to have a better version of King Groot. More debuffs, more abilities, immune to power drain, all sorts of little things that might add up. And I hope they do. Now, obviously, there is still a scenario where all of this change doesn't amount for much and he still doesn't get used besides by the people that already use him. But I am more hopeful than that. I do think that all of the changes will come together to give him quite a significant damage boost. As always, I will post a damage comparison of before and after. But so far from what I have seen, I don't know. King Groot might actually look like the champion that I might want to take up at the least to rank 2 first to see what's happening with him. And it's not like Cosmic class is all that stacked at the moment. They did get Hercules, but all in all, I think, who knows, maybe King Groot will be seeing his way up the rankings list. Anyhow, let me know what you think about these King Groot changes. I will cover the rest of the buffs as we get the information. But that is it from me for now. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about